Good morning, George.
Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
How are you? I always
I'm
forget.
good.
Are you in a different time zone?
I am in the same time zone. I'm in North
Okay,
Carolina.
perfect. Easier to schedule with you
Yeah.
then. Sometimes when I say good morning, people are like, it's not what I'm doing here, but that's fine. Um, I'm so excited to have you back, and I know you don't really need an introduction, but I am on today with George Slusser. I'm so excited to have you yet again, with some exciting news of something that you've been working on and officially launched. So if you could just give yourself a little introduction, would kick us off.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be back. But many of you know I've been in the industry for a very long time, and most of it's been focused on M&A. And so the past few years, I've been working with the Wave Group and Victor Lunn and Marilyn Wilson, and we've been creating an M&A advisory group. And so we updated the book, Acquiring Profit, last summer. Victor and I did, and Victor pushed me to finally complete it and get it back on track. And so we're very successful with that launch, and it's done really well. And we had an implementation system, which was the digital version of every tool that I've ever used, which is how to look at companies and how to assess companies and things that you could do yourself. And so we're really pleased with both those initiatives. And then over the winter, we did a whole series of webinars that really took each chapter of the book, everything from prospecting and knowing if M&A is right for you, to how you value a company, to negotiatings and LOI, all the chapters, all 10 chapters in the book. And we've made that into a training program. So we launched that just a couple weeks ago, and it's gone extraordinarily well. So we're really pleased with that, and thank you for having me on to talk about it. But it's available if you go to wavegroup.com, wavgroup.com, and I think it's almost 8 hours of learning and instruction. But you can get the book and you can get the download of the digital implementation system that you can use and the course. And I think there's a special offer going. So if you go to wavegroup.com, you can take a look at it and download it and sign up for it. So we'd be happy to have you purchase it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is just like an excuse to have you on, really. I've read both books. I've gone through the course. I was lucky enough to get to join you for one of those chapters. So
That was our best chapter. Thank you.
yeah, you have to say that when you're on here, but no, just kidding. But yeah, I think that the importance of what you're doing, it's something that's so overlooked, I think, by a lot of broker owners, perhaps because the business is so busy day to day. But it's so important I look at it like a checkup, like we do a yearly, like kind of checkup on your health. Like you really need to do a yearly checkup on your financials and understand the value of your company. It also, I think, is important. I think a lot of people think that they're maybe too small to be a buyer. I know we talked about that when I was on, and the one thing I've learned from you, and I'm so fortunate to get to work with you as much as I do, and I'm always so eager to chat with you because your vantage point of the industry is so interesting to me because you have all of like the financials on companies across the whole nation and can really you have a hand on the pulse of right now, and I also believe you do on the future too, and that's something that a lot of people are wondering about right now. So I sort of used the course as an excuse to get you on here. I was psyched to hear that you launched it. I was psyched to go through it. I think it's good for everyone. And I did want to kind of just launch from there. Just why? Why is it important for people to go through this? Because, like I said, especially right now with all the changes, I think the broker owners and business owners that may be listening here are so buried just in day to day, trying to figure out how they're going to make those shifts. And I think a lot of people think, well, I'm not for sale or I'm too small to buy someone. And I don't think either of those things are ever true because you can always be either of those things, no matter how small you are. There's financing potential for anything. You just have to know how to do it. And that's a big part of what George can show you. So if you can talk me through that a little bit, just like some of the stuff you're seeing right now, why it's important for people to have this knowledge, even if they don't think they're for sale or a potential buyer.
Sure. And I want to start off maybe that M&A has been around a long time, 20 and 30 years. It's been pretty significant, and it goes through peaks and valleys. And so it really depends on what the current environment is as to how active it is. And it was pretty slow in 2023, in the middle of 23. And right now it's beginning to heat up again because people have sort of established what the new norm is, or really stabilize their income flow or stabilize the business. So I think we talked about this last time. You know, we believe that you're either going to be a buyer or seller in the next few years. Just the commission compression that's occurring, the breakup on the buyer and seller side, and you know, agents always wanting additional commission opportunities, and the buyers and sellers wanting to pay less commission. So there's compression from a profitability standpoint, and so we've really stabilized, I think, in this coming year. And so a lot of the book was written primarily to help people, whether you're a buyer or seller, to really understand the process. Because as you said, you guys are busy day to day worrying about issues that affect your business from a localized basis. You don't think about mergers and acquisitions as much. And if you only do it once or twice or even 3 times a year, you just don't get the full boat of what's required. And so what we tried to do with the book and the course is really give you everything that you need to know to decide if you're going to be a consistent acquirer of companies or if it's maybe time for you to sell. And that's what we like to do from a consulting standpoint is M&A should be, I guess the right word is you want to make it not accidental. It has to be intuitive, it has to be strategic, it has to be something that you want to do. In part-time, M&A is not good. And so what we believe is if you're a seller, you need all the help you can get to determine what the value of your company is, how to negotiate, how to look for ways that it's going to really help your business. And then from a buyer's perspective, you know, there's a whole lot of mistakes that you can make. So we want to give you as much perspective as to how not to make those mistakes, because we've made all the mistakes. And Nicole, I know you've done a whole lot of acquisitions, and each one of them you learn from them and you get better. And so getting advice from people that do this on a consistent or almost a daily basis is probably the best thing that can happen. And that's why the book, everything that we learned, we try to give.
And it is a checkup, and it is something that you have to get comfortable with, because like anything, it's not pretty. That's why people don't really want to go to the doctor and hear that they probably need to lose weight. And they don't want to, there's a lot of things that people kind of avoid, right? Like making a budget for their household or whatever it might be. These are painful conversations, but you're so much better off getting comfortable with what you need to do. You don't have to do it, but you need to know what you need to do. I was actually thinking it's a funny thing to compare it to, I guess, but life insurance, like for life insurance, they are looking to see that you're a healthy individual. There's a certain weight they might want to see, or a certain blood pressure, or a certain blood sugar. You can either walk in completely blind and just hope that you're those things, right? Or you can know that you've scheduled that checkup in 6 months, and perhaps you want to look at some of those benchmarks and face it, like there may be some changes you need to make to get there, because it's going to be more painful when you're paying so much money for your life insurance, just as it's going to be so much more painful when now it's time to sell your company. You haven't really looked at everything, because it might have been painful to make those changes at that time, but it's a lot more painful in the final hour when you haven't faced that and just made those adjustments, because typically that's all it is, just some adjustments looking forward, small ones really. Like I said, just like it would be 6 months to lose a little weight versus I have 2 weeks. It's just not going to happen at that point. So I think that that's what's most important about whether you like a book style or you like a digital course. That's what I was most excited, George, that you put the digital course out, because it's a little bit trendy right now of a way to learn things. And I would like to see young business owners get on and understand this. Like I said, especially if they think I'm too small to buy someone. You're never too small to buy. And you're never the wrong size to understand the health of your company. So I can't recommend it enough, really. And I wanted to circle back to the consolidation thing, because I feel like people are using that as doom and gloom. So I would love, from your perspective, to talk about some other times in history, because consolidation's always been around, right? There's always been options to sell, to buy in every industry, really. But I know there's been times like this in the past, and it really just comes down to change. And if people feel like making that change. Some people financially aren't able to and they have to sell, but some people just are choosing not to. I don't feel like putting the energy into that, or I don't have another big change in me. So maybe could you give us just a little perspective on that when we've seen like a boom in consolidation in the past, and just to sort of put people at ease that every single company is not going to sell. It's just going to be a decision that owners need to make in the wake of this change.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I think I've been around long enough to remember a lot of changes. And I remember when the internet first came out that it was going to destroy real estate. There's going to be disintermediation, and there was going to be no more need for the real estate salesperson. And then a lot of the discount brokers came out, and it was going to put all the full service brokers out of business. And then when the discount brokers became more prevalent in the industry, and there's full service brokers, and then it was going to be institutional real estate companies came out, and there was going to put everyone out of business. And then it was going to be the transactional brokers, or the people that have virtual offices, that was going to put everyone out of business. And then now currently it's going to be the buy side and the sell side breakup that's really going to destroy the industry. And all of it has affected change. There's no doubt about it. And each of those plateaus in the industry affected some consolidation. And so there are people that were worried. And I always tell brokers there's many times that people get out too early, and then there's those that get out too late. And that's why if you're thinking of selling in the next 10 years, you try to be strategic and position your company. And you were talking about the valuations, and you're so to the point that in January of this past year was probably our fewest valuations we've done in a long time, because people didn't want to see what their value of their company was. In 2022, in January or February, it was probably the highest we've done, because everyone was pretty happy and wanted to see what their value was worth. But you really have to be strategic. You don't want to sell at the highest or the lowest point, and you don't want to buy at the highest point. And so you want to be strategic in both, if you're a buyer and if you're a seller. And I don't believe the breakup of the buy side and the sell side is going to put everyone out of business. I think we're going to be thinking of what's going to put us out of business in the next 5 years and 10 years. But just know, from my 40 years in history, we've had at least a dozen episodes that the real estate industry was done. And I truly don't believe it's done now. But
Yeah, I
I
love
think
that.
it's going forward, it's going to be fine.
I'm glad to have your perspective on that. And I do think, and no one's denying that there were moments of huge consolidation,
Sure.
and there may be one coming up, but that doesn't mean that everybody, I can't stand the gloom and doom people. There's always going to be those people. I always
Yeah.
joke that if you wake up, it sounds horrible, but if you wake up every day and say, I'm going to die today, eventually you're going to be right. So you can be one of those gloom and doom people that
Yeah.
say, this is going to pop or that's going to be destroyed. And if you wake up every day saying those things, I guess maybe you'll create your reality, but there's no impending doom. But consolidation is and always has been and always will be something that can happen. And selling and buying are always options and always have been. There's going to be people that choose to partner with their agents and look at what's ahead and say, let's get through this together, right? Let's innovate. And really, I think with these changes, it sounds like a line, but it's not. Like, the people that are actual experts in the field always thrive. So people get scared, and then it's the people that have been doing this well all along that the cream comes to the top, because people still need you, right? But the people that maybe weren't doing things well or were a little bit lazy, usually with changes like this, and even the ones you referenced, right? The internet, people that wanted real estate to be about gatekeeping information, they sort of got left behind. There are going to be people that get left behind, agents, broker owners, in this industry, no matter what. But I think that's what we want to do, is stay in this close, tight-knit partnership with an open conversation with our agents, like any other company that plans to continue and thrive, and figure out just what are the changes and how are we getting through them. And oftentimes we can figure out how to come out stronger, and so can the consumer. I think the
Yeah.
funny thing is we actually are pulling, and usually are pulling, for the consumer. But here, that's really what's happening. We have to make sure that that all shakes out well too. And I think if we keep that in mind and we're partnering to make everybody come out better, then I think we're in great shape. But I love having your perspective. I would sit and listen to your perspective all day because you have actual facts to talk about,
Yeah.
which I think is really interesting. And a lot of it's under NDA. So I can't ask you any real information, but I think you have the crystal ball because you have all the financials for every company and they can't lie.
Yeah, but what you said, a number of points are so important, which are that we're going to change and we're going to evolve. And we have for the last 30 years, as I've watched. And what you said about being gatekeepers, a lot of real estate agents and companies were information only. And now it's so available. And unfortunately, it's almost too much information is available. And so we really have to be advisors. And that's what you and your company are doing so well, is transitioning from information which is available to everyone to being truly trusted advisors. And it really was similar in the stock brokerage industry. Everyone was able to find out information on any stock available. And so all the companies came in and provided nice information, and they had to change. They had to become advisors and financial planners and estate planners and do all sorts of things to help their clients. And in the stock brokerage industry, which I like to follow also, it really became too much information. And I think that's what is going to happen in real estate is just too much information, and people are going to push back and say, look, Nicole, help me.
Right.
There's just too much what you need to do.
For sure. I mean, I feel that way about financial planning, and I find those things really interesting. And, I guess anybody could go try to be a day trader, but that would be another full-time job for me. I don't have time for that. I want someone that knows what they're doing, that's looking at that every day, that I can trust. And those type of human behaviors aren't changing. And that's what's kind of held strong all along. So we shouldn't be afraid of change, and we shouldn't be afraid of new technology and all these things that we can utilize, because it's actually freeing us up to do work of real value for our clients. So
because it
I'm
used
really
to be in the newspaper and magazines, it would always be a joke that every house had great location and it was sunny and beautiful. And now all the pictures of every house, whether it be a dog or a luxurious estate, look good.
I
So the
know.
information that everyone's getting, it's so high quality work that you can't tell, I don't think, from internet. You got to go there and experience it and kick the tires and get advice. So I'm
Sure.
not sure that's ever going to change.
I don't think so either. And I think that's what I meant by the protecting the consumer. I think
Yeah.
people stand to lose a lot more trying to DIY any of this. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go. And if you're listening to this, please definitely take my advice, jump on and download that course that George mentioned. If you need the information, email me. Feel free to ask me and I'll make a connection to George. But check out the book, do any of that. But like, I know we've had multiple conversations with you where I've underscored the importance. But if you are a broker owner listening, and there's other people that provide this, and sometimes that might be who someone's in touch with. But if you have never looked at the valuation of your company, just do it. It's a good, healthy checkup. And we tend to be on the January schedule because I do think we should do it every year. And I was hammering this January. We still need to do it, but maybe get yourself on like a July schedule just for the painful point as it may be where you want to start checking up, because all of us are a little quiet in the winter. So word for the wise. And usually July is a little bit quiet with people away and things like that. So you'll have some time to put everything together that George requires.